In 1928, the third richest man in the world disappeared from his private plane as it crossed the English Channel. No one on the plane realized he was gone until it was too late. Did he jump, or was he thrown to his death? Welcome to Macabre Storytime, where I tell my friends some of the weirdest, most brutal, spine-tingliest cases they've never heard of. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's get started. All right. Welcome back. I don't know why I said it like that.
Welcome.
Welcome back. All right. Well,
Wah wah.
How do we do this? I'm Sarah.
I'm Rhonda.
BT Dubs. That's Rhonda. And we're back for another episode.
It'll be fun.
It will be fun because, you know, I like a dooze. I like to dooze you. I also like an old-timey one. This is an old-timey one.
Going back in time.
We are going back in time. But is there anything of interest that you would like to share before we go into the time machine? Into the Wayback Machine.
Piper started school.
Interesting.
No.
So no. Okay.
What's going on with you?
Well, funny that you mention it. So we have our little dealio here, right?
Right.
Story time. But there's another little dealio that I do by myself. It's true. I'm not cheating on you. I'm by myself. That's not cheating if you're alone.
Well,
Just saying. So, but I have my own little other baby podcast. So the other baby podcast, it released just a couple weeks before this one. So it's already got a couple episodes out by the time this releases, there will be more than a couple. So by the time this releases, it'll be like 7 episodes in, but whatever, neither here nor there. So the other baby pod is called Malice Aforethought, and it is also a true crime podcast. However, it's set up a little bit differently. It is way more in depth into one case. So each season is going to be one case for the whole season. So the first season, which is what is currently releasing, is about that trash bag of human being, Robert Hansen.
I love your description of him.
Yeah, he's atrocious. But if you want to know like why he was so atrocious and how I came to the conclusion that he was a trash bag of a human being, then you should listen to it. Season 1's only 9 episodes, but it's much more in-depth than your regular like 30-minute documentary that you might see on the story of Robert Hansen, who's also for some reason called the Butcher Baker of Alaska, which I don't really like using because he didn't like, when I think of someone butchering people, I think of him like cutting them up into pieces, and he didn't do that. So I don't like that name. But anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's season 1, which is currently being released. And I've already started my research for season 2, but I'm not going to say who it's about.
Okay. And what's the name of the baby podcast again?
It's Malice Aforethought.
Very nice.
It is out now everywhere you get podcasts.
All right. You heard her. Go download.
Go download it, rate it, review it, love it, spread it,
share it,
whatever. Spread it like herpes.
Like a dogma. If only we had their numbers.
All right. So that's my little spiel about the other pod, our sister pod, if you will. Maybe half sister, since it's just one of us.
Yeah, half sister.
All right. So you, again, have chosen this one based solely on what you saw as like just me writing down like
the names of the episodes.
Right. Names of what we're calling this. So we're going to get back in our Wayback Machine.
Time travel.
That we were in to go visit Belle Gunness. And we're going to get back in. And this time, we're going to hop across the pond to, well, we're going to wind up in merry old England. But first, let's go back. We're actually going to start at the beginning of the story this time.
Ooh, not the end.
Shocking, right? So let's go back to the beginning of this person's life that we're going to be discussing today.
Okay.
Alfred Leonard Lowenstein. He was born on March 11th, 1877 in Brussels, Belgium. I've been there. It's beautiful. Good waffles. They have a statue of a little boy peeing. Very popular. Good. Good. They also have a doggy statue, also popular.
Is he peeing too?
He is. He actually is.
They like their peeing statues in Belgium.
I have pictures I can show you.
Okay.
Anyways, back to this particular time in Belgium. Now, Alfred's father, Bernard Lowenstein. Now, they're Belgian, so he probably doesn't say it Bernard. He probably like Bernard. Lowenstein. Now, he was a German Jewish banker, but he later converted to Catholicism, which I think is a really hefty turn. But what do I know?
A little bit.
But yeah, he's German Jewish banker, but he became a Catholic. Now, in 1909, Alfred, he married a woman named Madeleine Misson. Again, I'm probably saying that in a terrible Americanized way.
Yes.
But whatever. I'm a terrible American. So she was 11 years his junior when they got married. And they wound up having one son. His name was Robert Lowenstein.
I assume.
Now, Alfred was quickly very successful in business. So he established his own, that everywhere I see it, it's called a banking concern. And I was like, huh? And then I took this to Frank and I was like, what is this? Because he knows about like financial shit. And he was like, a bank? And I was like, I feel like if it was just a bank, they would have just said bank. What do I know? But apparently a banking concern is a financial institution that accepts deposits and channels the money into lending activities.
Isn't that what banks do?
So kind of like a bank.
Like, wait a minute. Sounds like a bank to me.
So a bank-esque. I mean, it doesn't sound like they give the money then back out. Like you can't come and just like withdraw some money, I'm guessing. It doesn't sound like it, but I don't know. It's bank-esque. It's bank adjacent.
Okie dokie.
But whatever. By 1914, Alfred was a very wealthy man. And as you just mathed for me, he was 37 at this point. So still young, you know. Now at this point, the very wealthy Alfred Lowenstein came to his home government, the Belgian government, with an offer. Now, if you know anything about history, 1914 was not the best time.
Nothing big, no.
In European history.
Nothing big.
We're giving mixed signals because I'm saying it wasn't the best time, and you're like, no biggie.
Only the First World War.
Nothing happened. So yeah, things weren't going great in the region. Belgium not doing well. So Alfred comes to the government and he's like, hey, how about this? I'll give you 50 million interest-free dollars. And I say yes. Just me personally. I would say yes.
In 1914, it was.
I would still say yes.
In a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a freaking shit ton of money. He says, I'll give this to you interest-free to help stabilize the Belgian currency because it was just in ruins at that point. So because they had declared themselves neutral, World War I. But I mean, I don't know if you know this. Germany, like right there. France, it's like right there. In England, it's like right there. So they're just like right smack in the middle of it. And I know no one else can see where I'm pointing, but I'm just pointing like a little bit down here and then a little bit down there and then a little bit up there. because that's where all those countries are in relation to Belgium.
That's why I said it needs to be visual.
Yes. I mean, we can do that. It's called YouTube, but whatever. I would have to come not looking a mess, but whatever.
Me too.
So he says, hey, I'll just do this $50 million interest free to help stabilize our currency, the Belgian currency. That's great, right?
Right.
There's just one tiny little stipulation that he wanted to put out there.
Of course. I mean, there's always a catch.
I just imagine him writing it on like a sheet of paper.
When you're giving away money.
Right. He folds it over, he puts it on the table, and with one finger just slides it across to the whole of the Belgian government that's sitting on the other side of the table and is like, this is my final offer. And they picked up that piece of paper and they looked at it and they said no. Because his stipulation was that he would just, tiny thing, he would just have the right to print Belgian francs.
Oh,
Just a little tiny stipulation.
Right.
So for some reason,
I'll give you $50 million, but I get to print all of this.
I can just print my own money.
Right.
So they said no.
I mean,
for whatever reason.
Crazy people.
Right. So by the end of World War I, Mr. Lowenstein was residing in England. He was like, fine, fuck you guys. I'm leaving if you don't want my money that I can then use to print my own money.
I mean, if that was the case, why didn't they just print their own money anyway?
Right, because that's just going to destroy your economy further.
Exactly.
It's
like, oh, well, if that's
probably
the
why
case,
they said no.
Oh, great idea. We'll just print our own money. And
yeah, why didn't we think of that?
Right. Good idea, Mr. Lowenstein. Thank you.
Can we pay you back with this money that you print?
We'll just print you $50 million.
I'm just trying to figure out like what his thought was there, because you can't just print money, because that's just going to destroy
the economy,
everything further. Like he's trying to help it.
I know,
not destroy it more. And I'm just confused about the thought process.
Apparently there was none there.
I don't know. I'm sure there was. He was a very intelligent man.
Yes, he was, but that wasn't a very good offer.
Just from where we sit.
Where we sit, yes.
Maybe he had something inkling in there that made sense, but I don't
maybe
I'm not
we know the banking world of today. We don't know the banking world of 1914.
And nor am I a banking genius.
Or Belgian.
Or Belgium, yeah, right. So I'm not a genius with banking. I know how to I can open your account. I can close your account. I can get your debit card. I can transact on your account with money, get your money and out and stuff. Open a business account, etc. But I am not a financial whiz. By the end of the war,
he moved.
He says, screw you guys, I'm out of here.
Adios, amigo.
He goes to England, and this is where he ran an investment business that was only slightly successful, and in that it made him one of Europe's most powerful financiers.
Only slightly successful.
Just a little bit successful. Now, this is where he partnered with Canadian-born Sir James Dunn in several business ventures, and their investment, the two of them together, in the British chemical company, British Celanese, I guess is how it's said, I don't know. That netted them more than £1 million in profit alone, that one investment. So this is how wealthy they are.
So we got a Canadian and a Belgian.
And a Belgian in England.
Running the country.
Doing stuff. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
making money.
Yeah. Now, furthermore, Alfred also made an enormous fortune providing electric power facilities for developing countries worldwide through his Belgian-based company, Société Internationale d'Énergie Hydroélectrique. So by the mid-1920s, his reputation led him to being consulted by heads of state from literally around the world. He is a very influential man. Now, in 1926, Alfred established a company named International Holdings and Investments Limited with two business partners, Alfred Pam and Frederick Sarvasi. This company raised huge amounts of capital from wealthy investors wishing to jump on his successful bandwagon. He's very successful. He's very wealthy. His investments are doing what they're supposed to do. We want in. It's basically what these people are saying. Also at the time, just a little fun fact, Alfred, he loved horses, probably more than his wife. And he owned a successful, that's true. So he owned a successful stable of thoroughbred steeplechase racehorses.
Ooh.
I know. His horses won the 1926 and 1928 Grand Steeplechase de Paris.
Ooh,
so
fancy.
he like had it going on. So this is just a little bit of background into who Alfred Lowenstein was. And you're probably like, why do I care about any of this?
Yeah, it sounds like this is not a true crime podcast. This sounds like a wealth building podcast.
I wish it were, because I could use some of that. But it's not. This is potentially a crime. There's a question mark. But this is where the man who at the time was, I believe, the third richest person in the world comes to Croydon Airport in South London on July the 4th, 1928.
Okay.
He is going to his private plane, which is and this is not me cursing, a Fokker F7A3M trimotor plane.
Fancy.
It might be Fokker. I'm not sure, but it is.
It's still not you cussing.
It's very close to cussing, but it's not. So he was going to be leaving London to fly to Brussels.
And you said going to be, so I assume he didn't.
He started. So we'll get there. We'll get there. So he traveled with 6 other people this day. There was the pilot, Donald Drew.
Good person to have.
Yeah, good guy to have on your airplane. The mechanic, Richard Little, also helpful. His valet, which when I think of valet, I think of like the person that parks your car, but I think it's more of like a
like a butler,
like a private, I don't want to say servant, but because he like paid him, he was paid. But yeah, he's kind of a butler, I guess. But he was called a valet. Fred Baxter, Secretary Arthur Hodgson, and 2 stenographers, Eileen Clark and Paula Beidelon. All 7 of them, they get in this little plane and they take off from South London to fly to Brussels. Now, the plane was crossing the English Channel at an altitude of 4,000 feet.
Not very high.
Not very high. While Alfred was sitting in his seat, just, making some business notes. Now, the plane, which I will post pictures on the Instagram and Facebook. Like I said, it was a private plane. It was very small. So basically, let's set the scene of what this plane looks like real quick, because this will come into play. So at the back of the plane is a door to get into the plane. And you go in, and there's a tiny little hallway. And like at the opposite end, like when you walk in the door, facing you is the lavatory. And then to your left is a door which leads to the cabin.
Okay.
The cabin was separated from the cockpit.
Okay.
Which I'm still confused about, but whatever, that's beside the point. So the cockpit has, I don't know if it was like plexiglass or a wall or something, but there's something dividing it from the cabin. So you go in this little hallway. If you go forward, there's a lavatory. If you go to the left, there's a door. Go through that door, goes into the cabin. Now the cabin, it was separated, I think it was either 8 or 10 seats. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the picture. But they were in like pairs of 2. Just kind of like 2 here facing this way and then 2 here facing this way. And so they're just
like a private plane.
Right. So but they're like 2 on this side of the plane. And then the next 2 will like face the other way, but on the other side of the aisle and like up a little bit. So they're kind of like staggered.
Right.
So he's, chilling there, taking his little business notes, whatever. And at one point, Alfred is like, I got to go to the bathroom. Got to visit the John.
Couldn't you did that before you left?
Maybe he should have. No, I'm going to rewind. He definitely should have. So
always go before you go,
right.
Before you get on the plane.
Yeah, that is a very good piece of advice. But he didn't. He decided this is a good time. So he goes to the back of the plane. Now, what I did not tell you, like how the plane is laid out, is that the lavatory doesn't have a door. What happens is the door that leads, and you can see this, I didn't even notice this until I was telling this story to my dad, and he was looking at the picture, and he pointed this out to me. I hadn't noticed it until he pointed it out. The door that leads into the cabin, it also would swing this way to be the door to the lavatory.
Okay.
So it was a dual door. My assumption was that he just left the door to be closed on the cabin and didn't like swing it back to just have the lavatory closed. Because then if you were in the cabin and you took the door to close the lavatory, the cabin would be open to the hallway.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't think that was the case because of what we're about to get into. So just more scene setting for you. Okay. So he goes back there to use the bathroom. I guess he just leaves the door on the cabin and is like, whatever. It's just me in the hallway here. After about 10 minutes, Fred Baxter, his valet, he's like, I haven't seen him in a while. He's been gone to the bathroom for a little bit. I'm going to go check on him. He's like, maybe he got sick. I'm going to go check on him. He's my boss. This is what I get paid for.
It's my job to take care of him.
It's literally my job. So Baxter goes back to check on him in the lavatory, and he opens the door, and he finds nothing.
Where'd he go?
The lavatory is empty.
Where'd he go?
That is a good question, because the lavatory was empty, but shockingly, the entrance door to the plane was open.
How does that happen at 4,000 feet?
Right. What I saw was that it was, quote, flapping open. Like, was it open all the way? Because that would take some, like, Hulk
muscle
strength for that. But it said it was flapping open. But he notices, boss man ain't here. He's not taking a shit. This door is open. What the fuck? So he passes a note. I don't know how he gets the note to the pilot because there's a wall there or a plexiglass or something. But somehow he passes a note to the pilot. And I just started imagining it was like Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, where he just has her phone number written on the piece of paper and he slaps it up against the window and he's like, I got a phone number. How do you like them apples? I just imagine it like that. Like, he's gone. Just slaps it on the
back door's open.
He fell out.
You might want to land.
I don't know if that's how it happened.
I don't know how we're not losing cabin pressure, but you might want to land.
Well, keep in mind, this is the 20s.
I know, but still, you'd think there'd be some cabin pressure.
But they weren't pressurized, the airplanes. So, and they're also, my initial thought was like, how are papers not like flying around and shit? But they're not pressurized, for one. And also, like, wouldn't you hear the door opening? And like, that would be very loud, but also, they're also going to be very loud, these planes. Mm-hmm. So neither of those things are going to happen. Your papers aren't going to go flying, and it's not going to suddenly be just super loud where it wasn't before, because it's already loud, and there's already, it's not pressurized, so.
Yeah, but you think there'd be some change with the door opening.
But I guess at 4,000 feet, not enough.
Apparently.
My ears feel weird. You guys? No? Okay.
No, we're good.
So he passes this note somehow to the pilot, and what he does is questionable, we'll say. My voice went up a little bit.
Questionable.
Just a little questionable. So first of all, he kind of turned the plane around to see if he could like spot his boss's body somewhere. I don't know what you're going to see from 4,000 feet.
Right. My binoculars.
Yeah,
to see if I can find him.
Where, I don't know. Well, remember, they're over the English Channel. So it's water.
Wait, you're going to look in
but like,
the water.
How are you going to
splash?
Is he going to look like an ant from 4,000 feet? Like, how are you going to tell if you see him? I don't understand. But he does that. And then, and this is what really causes a lot of weird speculation. go to an airfield, an airport of any kind, a landing strip in the middle of like none of that. What he does is he lands on a beach near Dunkirk in France.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, he just and like I said, this is where a lot of speculation was around this move. And like, what you doing? Kind of questions, because he landed on what was seemingly a deserted beach. I don't know what they were going to do there, but instead of going to get help, they do this. Well, I say the pilot does this. Now, I said it was seemingly deserted because the beach actually turned out to be under the control of the French military. Oh. So they were on it pretty quickly.
What you doing?
Hey guys, why are you here?
All I can envision is Napoleon like walking in. And probably not the right timing for Napoleon.
It's not. You're a little late for that.
I know. That's just my vision of Napoleon walking out and be like, excuse me.
With his big fancy swoopy hat.
Yeah.
I don't know what those are called. But anyways, swoopy. That works. So military comes in and they're like, whoa, what are you doing here? Like, they quickly, it wasn't like hours later. They like saw them land and were like,
excuse me.
There's a plane on our beach. We gotta maybe check that out. Yeah. So they go check it out quickly, and they take everybody on board in for questioning to be like, why the fuck are you here on my beach? Just landing your dumbass plane on our beach for no reason. I also want you to keep in mind, I did not mention this. The nearest airfield where they could have landed was like 5 minutes away.
Pilot was involved.
Okay, well, that's it for this episode of That's it for this episode of Macabre Storytime. I hope you enjoyed.
Rhonda has cleared the case.
Actually, I don't know if you have, because it is unsolved. But you apparently know what happened.
I do. That's all the information I need. Good night, folks.
So the nearest airfield was about 5 minutes from where they were, but instead he does this weird, I'm going to see if I can see him, and then I'm going to land on this beach business. So they're all taken in for questioning. French military is like, no, yeah, you can't just land on our beach. Who are you and why are you here? And all the people on board, it took them a while to actually admit like literally anything about who was on board with them. But we'll come back to that in a little bit. But when they finally did, they all said that they thought their boss, Alfred Lowenstein, the third richest man in the world, accidentally fell out of the plane to his death by going out the wrong door. Like, instead of turning right and going through the door to the cabin, he accidentally walked straight and opened the door to the outside and whoopsie, fell out.
Whoops, wrong door.
That's what they are all saying, that they believed he accidentally went through the wrong door and fell out. I'm just telling you what was reported. Don't give me that look. Now, in the week after his disappearance, a very hasty investigation was put together, and they concluded he did accidentally fall through the door. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well,
this definitely happened. And I'll tell you how they came to this conclusion, because Drew, the pilot, and Little, the mechanic, they both told authorities it would be really easy to just open that door mid-flight by accident. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Case closed. We solved it.
Thanks for your, professional
for
opinion.
your non-help.
Your professional opinion.
Okay. Oh, you think so? Okay, I'm not going to look into that further at all.
Nope.
So
your word is
that's
law.
Good enough.
Yep.
I take it for what it is. Now, on July the 12th, remember this happened July the 4th. On July the 12th, 1928, the accidents branch of the British Air Ministry was like, I don't know, guys. I don't think that door was that easy to open. I feel like they're being sus.
You think?
Just a little bit.
How about we, investigate?
Right. So that's what they did. So on July the 12th, they used Lowenstein's airplane to perform some tests on this entrance door that was supposedly so easy to open.
Why did it take them 8 days to figure this out?
I don't know. Remember, this did happen over the channel and they landed in France. So, maybe it's 1928. It's not like they opened up their Samsung, or got their iPhone out and was just like, beep, boop, beep, boop. Hey, England.
I guess, but
This rich guy that lives in you disappeared. Can you help us?
I guess, but the point is that wouldn't that be the first thing you talk to all these people that were on
But they
board.
took them for their word.
But why don't you
Because
look at the plane?
They said what happened.
Because the pilot and the mechanic said it's easy to open?
They said so.
Okay, fine.
I don't know if it was the French that took their words for it, and they're just like, yeah, fine, just get off our beach. Or what.
Get out.
But this section of the British Air Ministry was like, we're going to put some, we're just going to test this a little bit. Just make sure. You got to have, what is it about experiments? You have to have like repeating results.
Yes.
We just want to make sure. So they took the plane to 1,000 feet. Okay. Now remember, they were flying at 4,000. So this is a quarter of the way up. 1,000 feet.
So not as hard at 1,000.
Correct. Right. So,
but harder than
ostensibly, it will not be as hard to open the door at 1,000 feet as it would be at 4,000.
But harder than on the ground.
Obviously, because we don't have that wind pressure pushing it, whatever. So at 1,000 feet in the air, men tested the door by throwing themselves against it. I just wish I were on this plane to see this. I just feel like it would be really funny. But they're throwing themselves against it to try to open it.
I picture policemen with the battering rams going against the door.
Yeah, took that on the little mini airplane, just like, little tiny one. Just, but one of the men, now he was able to get the door to open, but only about 6 inches before the slipstream violently slammed the door shut and threw the man back. 6 inches, I don't care how thin you are. 6 inches is not going to be enough for a whole ass person to slip out whoopsie daisy. That's just not going to happen. So
maybe he was Paper Mario and he just slipped
right through.
No.
Why do you say things that are clearly not true? So now they concluded from this test that it's probably impossible for somebody to just like, whoopsie, open the entrance door and fall out.
What? You mean the pilot and the mechanic were wrong?
Apparently. They are not experts in their field.
Gasp.
Another week later, on July 19th, guess what? They found Lowenstein's body near Boulogne in France.
He was on France. He was in France.
He was on France? Yeah, just laying right on top of it. Just like the map. Just a map of France.
Was he on the beach they landed on?
No. He was in the water, because remember, they flew over the English Channel.
Yes, I know, but he could have washed up on the beach in the France.
Right. Now, his body was found in the water, but it was brought to Calais, also in France, where his identity was confirmed by his watch. It had his name inscribed on the band. I saw reports that he was found in, like, boxers or something.
Where's clothes go?
Right. I don't know if that's factual. I just, I saw in places that it wasn't, like, fully clothed.
The fish took his clothes?
I don't know. But they were like, hey, he's got Alfred Lowenstein's watch. So this is him. So he's been gone for a couple weeks now.
Mm-hmm. So
you're probably not, and he's been in the water. So you're probably not going to be able to just look at him and be like, yes, that is him.
Yeah, he's a little decomposed.
A little bit. Little puffy, maybe.
Yeah, just a little bit.
From the bloating in the water. Now, the family, they requested an autopsy to confirm their belief that there was no foul play involved in his death. No poisoning. He wasn't murdered and thrown out of the plane. None of that. They wanted to confirm this because they truly believed it was an accident. The autopsy, now it revealed a fractured skull and several broken bones, but these are all consistent with the fall.
Fall 4,000 feet into water.
Hitting water. It's
concrete.
Right, exactly. It's like hitting ground. Now, it was concluded that he was alive when he struck the water. So he wasn't killed in the plane and then dumped. I don't know exactly how they decided he was alive, because your bones still would have broken if you were dead. I did not see anything about, like, what got them to that conclusion. All I know is that the autopsy said he was alive when he hit the water. But I don't know why. Like, what
You're not a
what led
medical
them to that.
examiner.
I am not, but I also, like, didn't see anything that said why they said that. Like, what little clue was like, oh, he was alive because of this. And that's how we know. Like, none of that happened. There was one odd finding in the autopsy, other than the fact that this man just fell out of a plane, quote unquote fell. So what they found in the autopsy that was odd to them was traces of alcohol in Alfred Lowenstein's blood. And you might be thinking, well, what's so odd about that? He was flying in a plane. Like, obviously there's alcohol on board. But this is odd because Lowenstein famously never drank. Yeah, he did not drink alcohol. He was a teetotaler, much like me. I don't really drink. So yeah, he's not a drinker, but he's got alcohol in his system. And that leads me to the theories portion of this event. First theory, it was an accident.
It was an accident. He drank alcohol?
That he fell out of the plane.
No, it wasn't.
I'm just saying it's a theory. Let me say why. Let me get to it.
I'll let you speak your piece.
Let me say I researched this. Let me do this.
Okay. Jeez.
Now,
say your spiel.
Because the plane was not pressurized, like I said, if the door swung open, the passengers would have at most experienced just like a little bit of turbulence from the change in the pressure. So nothing super noticeable. Because there's always like a little bit of turbulence here and there when you fly, regardless.
Right.
The plane was very small and loud, like I said, so it would have been hard to hear anything odd going on back in that little compartment, that little hallway of the plane. So again, super loud. They're not going to necessarily hear him like opening and closing the door. Now, some accident theories include, one, the door was accidentally left open and Alfred fell out trying to close the door, which I don't buy, because how are you just leaving that open? And why are you stupid enough to be like, oh, let me just close this? And like,
right.
You're going to get sucked out of that bad boy. Like, no one's dumb enough.
You would have got sucked out going through the door to go to the bathroom.
You would have noticed the moment you opened the cabin door to go into the hallway where the lavatory is, you would have been like, oh shit, guys, the door's open. Like, right. I don't buy that for a second. The other little nugget that people proposed was the door was shut, but was not secured. So he accidentally like bumped against it and fell out. But again, they tested it. And at 1,000 feet, they could barely open it 6 inches before the slipstream like threw him back.
Right. The wind outside is keeping it closed. No matter what they want to say.
It's not just swinging wildly.
And
it's not a saloon door where they're just like on hinges going back and forth. So I don't buy the accident theory.
Which even had it been left open, I believe the slipstream would have
just
closed it
and slammed it shut.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to be like flush against the wall of the plane, but you can still get like air between them to just and slap it shut, right? So I am putting 0 eggs in the accident basket. Okay. We can just throw the basket out as far as I'm concerned.
No accident basket.
I don't need extra baskets around. So the next basket we come to is the suicide basket. Now, Lowenstein, he allegedly left behind a bit of a tangled web of business dealings, which many of these were apparently highly leveraged at the time. Meaning he'd taken out lots of like loans and things on these businesses. Mm-hmm. Some theorize that his empire was maybe on the verge of collapse, potentially from some illegal dealings, though nothing was ever proven. It's just people saying shit. You know how they do. There were no obvious signs that Lowenstein was suicidal, which obviously doesn't always have to be obvious signs, but I will just say there were no obvious signs, and he not only appeared to be in very good spirits, like before he got on the plane, but he was making plans, like literally on the phone before they got on the plane, literally making plans for the next day or like later that same day with people.
That's not suicidal.
That's usually not what people do when they're about to go commit suicide.
Right.
Not saying it can't happen.
No,
it's just unusual.
It's unusual. You don't make plans and say,
hey, let's have dinner tonight when I get back into town.
Even though I won't be there.
But I'm going to be dead before that. Yeah, that's typically not what happens. So that's our second basket. I am also not going to waste any of my eggs in that basket.
I have no eggs in that basket either because the same point with the first basket is it's impossible to get the door open.
Right. He'd really...
Either way, it doesn't matter. You can't get the door open to either commit suicide or for it to be an accident.
Right. And like, maybe, I don't know, maybe he was a very strong man. I don't know. I don't know his life. But I don't think he was like the Hulk. So that's a second basket I'm not going to put any eggs in. Now, the third basket we come to is the he faked his death basket. Now, this basket, I'm gonna put one egg in it, and I'll tell you why. Let me read this first, and then I'll tell you why I will put one egg in it. Okay?
Okay.
Now, crime writers Robert and Carol Bridgestock, they speculated that Lowenstein faked his own death and disappeared because of these alleged irregularities in his business dealings that we talked about, that were not confirmed, but people are running their mouths about. Now, they claim that the fact that, and this is true, his body was buried in an unmarked grave in his wife's family's tomb in a funeral that his wife didn't even attend, supports their theory. So he's buried in her family tomb, but in an unmarked grave, and she doesn't even go to the funeral.
I can see that.
Now, the reason I'm going to put one of my 12 eggs, because, you know, eggs come in 12s.
I was going to say, why not 12?
Well, it's 12 because a dozen eggs.
I get it now. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together, but now I do. I got it.
Technically, it's like 6 and 6, but whatever. So I'm going to take one egg out of my carton, and I'm going to put it in this faked his death basket, okay? And I'm doing it because I feel like if it wasn't murder, which we'll get to, it would be this. Because there's no way that this one man fell out of the plane and nobody knew about it. And then we get to the body, which is only identified
by the watch.
By the watch.
That's what I'm thinking.
So there's that. But not only is it only identified by his watch, but this person had alcohol in their system and he never drank.
But where'd they get this body?
So, well, here's the thing. Could they have had it in the plane? And
But still, how do you get the door open?
Maybe they...
Was there a baggage claim underneath the plane or something that they just opened the catch and it... Whoop?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But also they could have like rigged the door maybe. If they were like in on it. And they could have rigged the door to be easier. And that's something that we'll also get to in the next basket. But I can see a little bit how this could potentially be a theory. Like a plausible one. That's why I'm putting one singular egg in the basket.
I had a couple eggs in this basket just because I thought about it. You know, the fact that he's only identified by the watch. Mm-hmm. The liquor, you know, everybody on the plane knew him. They knew he didn't drink.
Right.
And the fact that he couldn't open the door. So the only plausible thing is something with the plane that they had this random body attached to. I don't know how, but, you know, whatever. Right. But, I mean, faking his death, if he did have all this issues going on, then...
But where'd he go?
But, yeah, that's the question. Where'd he go?
Like I said, he obviously, there wasn't social media at the time. But like I said, he was the third richest man in the world. People knew who Alfred Lowenstein was. Like, people today have never heard that name. But people in 1928, they knew who he was. Mm-hmm. He was a very well-known figure. all around the world. Like I said, heads of state from all around the world would contact this man. He was a known figure. You can't just disappear.
Well,
easily. You can't disappear easily.
Okay, I am a little rusty, but the Great Depression...
In faking your own death?
No. The Great Depression happened in 28, 29. Was that just the U.S. or was it worldwide?
It took time to get worldwide.
So that would have affected him, though.
There were ripple effects, but this was in 1928. The Great Depression, it's the end of 29 when that happened, like the second half of 1929. This happened in 1928. So this was we're still in the roaring 20s at this point.
Still before.
Right. We're still living it up.
I just knew it was the end of the 20s. Right. I didn't remember if it was the 28th or the 29th. Right. Or 28. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
But I was just
skip all that.
I was just thinking, because obviously if he's the third richest man in the world, that's going to affect him. Right. But obviously that wouldn't have affected him had, 2 years before. I'm just thinking.
I know, you're fine. Thinking out loud. It happens. Yeah. So I've got one egg in the faking his death basket. You said you've got a couple. Okay. Yeah. Now we come to our final basket. I think it's the final. I don't think there's any other baskets that we could come up with. But this basket is the murder basket. It's a great name for a band.
The murder basket.
The murder basket. Anyways, so in the 1987 book, The Man Who Fell from the Sky, author William Norris concluded that pilot Donald Drew threw Lowenstein from the plane.
Hey, I said that.
I know, that's why I was just going to end the episode early. Now, when questioned by the French military, remember I told you to stick a pin in that because we were going to come back. Drew evaded their questions for about half an hour before he finally admitted that their boss, the formidable Alfred Lowenstein, had disappeared from the plane over the English Channel. He put off telling them this for 30 minutes, roughly, give or take. Now, you could also kind of say, well, that's because he faked his own death and they're giving him more time to get away. But it could also be like in the murder basket, and he's like, I just don't want you to find out what's going on here, so I'm going to hold out as long as I can.
Pretty much.
Right. So there's a couple sub-theories here about why he murdered Lowenstein. So the first one was that Drew was contracted by none other than Madeline Lowenstein because she wanted to secure her husband's fortune for herself.
But isn't it hers anyway when she's married to him?
Right. Now, I feel this is unlikely. And I'll tell you why. One, their marriage was largely for show. It was just one of those types of arrangements. She had very little demands put on her from her husband. They kind of lived separate lives. They could just do what she wanted. It's not like it was like, you have to do this in order to get money from me, or I'm going to put you on like a strict allowance or whatever. They just kind of had their own stuff. Yeah. Like there weren't really any demands put on her. She was just living the life on her husband's dime. Mm-hmm. And two, it would have been a really big headache to find his body in the English Channel after it fell out of the plane. Because, fun fact, you need the body for the death certificate. Unless you want to wait like a bunch of years for them to just declare him dead.
You need the body.
Yeah, so that's a little fun fact for you all out there. If you want a death certificate, you need the body. Or you can just wait like 7 years for them to just declare him dead. So that would have been a headache, going and finding him. Because it's not like they dumped him in a place that's easy to go back and get him.
Right.
They didn't dump him on a field.
Right.
It's in the water.
But I don't understand how she can guarantee the fact that they were going to find his body.
Exactly. That's why, that's my second point, is that you can't know that you're going to find it. Because here's another fun fact for you. Water, it moves things around.
Right.
You like that little wavy motion I did in your face just now? It moves things. So you don't know how the water is going to be acting on these days and where it's going to take him.
Right.
So then you can go back and find him and be like, there he is. Found him. He's wearing his watch. And like I said, she was already living off of his wealth, and there were no known issues that would have like led her to be concerned about that changing in any fashion.
Right. Like I said, she's married to him.
That was the first little bullet point into why the pilot might have killed him.
Of course, he was contracted by her. But if we go back to the faking your death thing, she didn't attend the funeral. Well, if
Correct.
they really didn't have a real marriage, then there's a reason why she didn't attend the funeral.
Well, I mean, it's not that,
but
it's not
he
just
still
because
was in the tomb.
They had an arrangement doesn't mean that their marriage wasn't amicable.
Yeah, but he was buried in the tomb with her family, but
with no name on his plaque.
But she didn't join
And
she didn't go to the funeral.
I mean, maybe she was too upset. People grieve in different ways. Okay. The second theory about why the pilot might have killed him does not revolve around his home life, but around his work life. This theory points the finger at Lowenstein's business partners, Albert Pam and Frederick Sarvasi, because they would both benefit greatly from his death. Now, their company, International Holdings, blah, 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 blah. It's like 5 words. The company soared in the stock market after this tragedy.
Oh, that's always good for your company.
Right.
Have the,
But it was due to a mysterious influx of $13 million in profit.
Suspicious.
Why are you looking at me like that?
That's suspicious.
Now, Norris did the math, and he discovered that this was the exact amount that would have been gained from a series of anonymous insurance policies taken out on Lowenstein before his death.
And it's not suspicious.
I didn't say it wasn't suspicious. I just said, why are you looking at me like that? I am neither Albert Pam nor am I Frederick Sarvasi.
Maybe you were.
No.
In another life. You weren't alive in 1917, 1928, whatever year this was.
1928. I don't know where you got 1917 from. Hey, if I were a rich white man in a life, that's great. I clearly did something wrong to no longer be that in this life.
Maybe
it was this. Maybe this is the thing I did wrong.
Marry me. There you go.
So
now we're talking about it. Now.
Right. And this all coming together. Now, Norris theorizes that Pam and Sarvasi hired at least 2 people to kill Lowenstein. Likely the 2 who would be the easiest to be believed about how easy it is to open that door mid-flight. Meaning the pilot, Drew, and the mechanic, Little.
Go figure. It's so easy to open that door.
Now, he also believes, the author of this book, that Drew and Little replaced, and we were talking about still how's he going to open the door even with faking his own death. This is what I was kind of referring to. He believes that perhaps they replaced the entry door with a rigged one that had loose bolts on it and loose hinges that would make it easier to open mid-flight. And that's how they got him pushed out of the plane.
Would they replace it after he got out?
Yes, and that upon landing on the beach, not an airstrip, the door could have easily been replaced without witnesses that would have been on an airfield. Because remember,
the French army.
But they thought it was deserted. Yeah. Allegedly, they thought it was a deserted beach.
Yes, but the French army was watching them.
Exactly. So this is where I come in, and I can see murder completely. I'm putting the other 11 of my eggs in the murder basket. But I'm not sure about this because, like I said, it wasn't like 3 hours later that the French military came by and were like, hey guys, what you doing here? It was very quick. Would they have had time to then take off the rigged door, put the real door back, like all the way? Because remember, they used this plane to test later at 1,000 feet.
Right.
Put the regular door back on all the way. And then where did they put the rigged door? Like, where'd it go? It has to go somewhere.
Right.
And if it were just like on the plane, I feel like they would have seen that and been like, what's this?
Why is there a random door laying
Why
here?
is there an extra door with funky hinges?
Right.
And like, where are you going to put it? They didn't have time to
it's not
take
like
it somewhere.
It's not like our planes now that have like baggage areas and everything that
Even then, like, wouldn't they have searched that for, like, a clue or something?
I mean, they were
what do I
taking
know,
everybody off to question them.
I'm sure they took the plane somewhere. They didn't just leave it on the beach.
Right.
I mean, I feel like they would have looked at the plane a little bit.
The only thing I can think of is that it was the same door. They just tightened the hinges, but
maybe they just loosened them up a bit before takeoff. But, like, would they have noticed it going into the plane? Or did they do it like everyone's on the plane and the mechanic's just getting the plane ready, quote unquote, and he's just like, ring, ring, ring. And
he's the last one on the plane.
Right. And he's
got to fix the door. Give me 1 second.
Let me just loosen these bolts a little bit. So, like, yeah, did they rig the door? That's what I was kind of referring to when we talked about faking his own death. Maybe they rigged the door to be able to more easily push out the fake dead Alfred. But if it was the real dead Alfred, or the real live Alfred, whatever, the door was rigged. But then at that point, it can't, if he fell accidentally against the door and he fell out, okay, yes, it would have only been the pilot and the mechanic behind it. But how do you know he's going to fall against it? How do you know he's going to even go to the bathroom at any point? It's not a long flight.
Exactly.
From London to Belgium to Brussels, it's not a long flight.
Exactly.
They're pretty close.
And how do you know that it's not going to be, the butler guy or, someone else?
How do you know literally anybody is going to go to the bathroom in that short flight?
Right. What if he would have done what I told him to do and go to the bathroom before he got on the plane?
This is why you go first. So that's the thing. In that instance, it has to be more than, if we're talking about the pilot and the mechanic being like the main players in this, it has to be more than them. Because someone else would have had to like ensure that he went out the door. Because like I said, you have no idea that he's actually going to go to the bathroom, right, or that he's going to stumble and fall into the door or whatever. Like, how do you make sure that happens?
Unless someone rigged his drink with something like he didn't drink, but did they rig his drink with something that made him stumble? Like that made him have to go to the bathroom, that made him stumble into the door?
I feel like if he was that drunk, it would have, I don't know.
I mean, that's the only thing I can say to guarantee that he would not be walking straight and would guarantee he'd have to go to the bathroom.
Maybe. I mean, he was a bit older at this point, like in his 50s, but still, like, I don't know. I don't know when the prostate usually starts to go and you have to pee all the time, but
I mean, when you drink alcohol, typically you have to go to the bathroom.
But like
more,
how quickly and how much, and because like I said, this is a short flight.
But we don't know how long that they were doing this to him.
Right. If they were plying him with alcohol unknowingly, but then like he would have noticed he doesn't drink and all of a sudden his drink tastes weird.
Sometimes if you don't drink alcohol and they're just giving you a little bit at a time, maybe it's not noticeable and you cover up the flavor.
But if it's that little, then why would it be enough to make him so out of it?
Because his alcohol tolerance isn't up.
But still, if it's so little that you can't even taste it, that's not very much.
I don't know. I'm just devil's advocate. I'm just trying to think of things that would assure he had to go to the bathroom and assure he wouldn't be walking steadily.
Well, that's the thing. You have to ensure that he's going to do that.
Right.
Whether it's by giving him alcohol that he doesn't know about, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta pee. And then he's all stumbly. But even then, you cannot guarantee he's gonna go out the door.
No, you can't. You can't guarantee any of it.
The only way to guarantee that is to have someone there to help him. And that's where it has to be at least one other person.
Mr. Butler guy.
And at that point, it becomes, well, does everybody know?
Well, did Mr. Butler guy work for him before this plane ride, I assume?
Yeah. He'd worked for him for a while. He was a trusted companion. And see, that's the thing. Like, at the point where you're like, okay, the pilot and the mechanic, remember, they're in the cockpit. They don't have access. They can't just walk into the cabin. It's separated.
Right.
So someone in the cabin would have had to have been there to ensure this happened if they're planning to murder him.
Well, he's the most likely of... I mean,
he's the one that went to check.
because he's the one that would be closest to him. He had stenographers and
2 stenographers and a secretary.
yeah, and those
then his
aren't
valet.
typically, personable people that are like buddy with people.
Right.
I mean, the
This was
personal
his
valet
personal
would
valet,
be
yeah.
someone who's typically always there.
Very trusted.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's the one that went to check.
Exactly.
So that puts him at the top of the questionable list.
Mm-hmm.
But then my point is then that I feel like all 6 of them would have had to have been in on it. Because how do you go out there, your boss goes to the bathroom, you're like, it's been a while, and you go to, quote, check on him, and then you come back and it's just you. Like, you don't think they're gonna be like, that's weird.
Right.
2 of them went that way, only one of them's coming back.
Right.
That's weird. I feel like, and apparently the 2 women, the 2 stenographers were like bawling when the French military was like trying to talk to them. They're all like crying and upset and stuff. Is it because their boss disappeared out of the plane, or is it because they knew what happened and they didn't expect the French military to be
intervene
right there when they landed?
Whoops.
Maybe research your beaches a little bit better next time.
Yeah, don't land on a random beach and assume it's deserted.
Yeah. So those are the theories. And as I said, I put 11 of my eggs in the murder basket. I put 1 egg in the faking his own death basket. I would say it's got to, I can buy the pilot and the mechanic, but there has to be at least one other person in the cabin that is there to ensure that he goes out that door. Someone has to make sure of it. Otherwise, this is all for naught.
Right.
Like nothing happens. You've done this for nothing.
I agree with you.
That's all you got?
I get my money's on the valet.
Being the third man.
Being the third man. I don't know about the other 3 being involved.
Well, there's involved and then there's they know.
Yeah, but I don't know if they knew. I don't know.
I don't know if I can buy that they wouldn't have.
I mean, stenographers and a secretary are pretty low on the totem pole. They would, be kept out of the loop as far as, what's going on. I mean, they're going to be typing and,
Well, not on the plane.
No, but, answering phones, all that stuff. But I don't know they're in on the nitty gritty of the, daily business opportunities and stuff. So I don't think they'd be
But they could be
but
they could have been paid off to be in on it, to get rid of him.
I mean, it's possible, but I don't know if I buy that. But I would say murder is probably the best scenario in this. But faking your own death can be argued as well.
Yeah, I don't think as it doesn't wrap up in as nice of a bow.
Right.
I think it's a possibility.
I don't know if it's the wife's doing though, because the wife already had access to his money. I don't think she had anything to do with it. I mean, she had access to his money. She didn't need to kill him for it. So he had enough enemies with, his businesses and money doesn't bring you friends usually.
Yeah, usually kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the story of the man who fell from the sky. Alfred Lowenstein. So you're in the murder basket with me?
I'm in the murder basket.
Cool. We're in the murder basket. I would love to know what basket everyone else is in. Mm-hmm. Let's see how many eggs we can fit in the baskets. Is anyone in the accident basket? Because you're wrong, but I still would be interested in knowing.
Judging our listeners, how dare you?
Yes, I am.
If you are in the accident basket, you must, explain yourselves, please.
Please explain. Yes.
You must
clearly why you think this incorrect thing.
You must persuade us to believe you.
I won't, but you can try. You would be hard pressed to convince me this was an accident. And I feel like I've laid out why very clearly and succinctly. Well, now that we've figured that out, we both have said with 95% assurance. Is that right? Assurance? 95% reasonableness. I don't know. We're both...
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt.
It's not. We're both roughly 95% sure he was murdered. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, please tell us what you think. And if you find anything else on what happened to Donald Drew after this, he came into some money and he died not too long after this, but I don't remember exactly what happened. So it'd be great if someone could be like, oh, I know, and just tell us. Now it's time for our new segment called The Decompression Chamber. La, la, la.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. So this is where we go to feel a little bit better about life after hearing these horrible stories. And today it is Miss Rhonda's turn to tell us a cute story. And I know what she's going to tell us, and it's really cute. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
It is adorable, and it is about my daughter.
It is Piper-centric.
It is.
I feel like a lot of them will be Piper-centric.
Well, yeah. My life is Piper.
Piper-centric or dog-centric.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll have to look up one just to.
Well, mine for our next episode will be dog-centric.
Okay.
So,
So I'll have to look up one just to, spread it around. People will be like, I'm tired of hearing about your child and your
right.
dogs.
I know too much about your home life.
So my daughter started school on Monday. So this is being recorded in August, obviously. So she started school on Monday, and she was all excited when I picked her up, and she's like, Mommy, I have a job interview tomorrow. We're getting a job in the classroom. And she told me her 3 job choices, and one was like substitute. So if someone was out, she was going to do their job. And the other one was like a classroom helper, and one was, or that was a teacher's helper. And the other one was like classroom cleaner. And she was so excited. And she's like, tomorrow I have to interview for this job. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And you'll get to learn all about, how to interview. And she's like, yeah, it was just like when you applied for your job. And she's like, you had to interview for your job, and I'm going to have to do that. And she was all excited about it. And she went to school the next day, and I picked her up that day. And I'm like, so how'd your interview go? And she goes, it was good. And I'm like, did you sit down with your teacher and go over questions and stuff? And she's like, oh, no, I just filled out a paper. And I'm like, oh, so you filled out a job application? And she's like, that's what I said. I'm like, no, that's not what you said. You said interview. And I said, but it doesn't matter. I said a job application is still part of the job applying.
You got to do that before you can get to the interview. So.
Yeah, you got to apply before you get the interview. So she's like, I filled out the paper, and she's like, I had to put on there my name and my address and my phone number. We were ever suspended or had detention. And she's like, luckily for me, that was a no. I'm like, it better be.
Right.
You're in 3rd grade.
Keep it no forever.
Keep it no for a while.
Hey, I never had detention or in-school suspension or anything.
I had detention once, and it was because it was a classroom detention.
Rhonda Sue.
It wasn't me. It was the whole class got detention.
Sure. Look at her throwing other people under the bus. It wasn't me.
The whole class.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we were talking about the difference between a job application and an actual interview. I said, well, during an interview, you have to go sit with the boss of that job and answer questions. And you have to tell them why they should hire you and what you can do for their company and what you can do for that job specifically. I can never say that word correctly.
Specifically.
Not Pacific. It's specific.
You can say pacifically. It's fine.
Pacifically.
No one here is going to judge you.
So we were talking about it, and I had this brainstorm. My manager has been telling me to bring Piper up to visit. And she's like, I want to see my friend. And then I'm like, hey, I had already told her about the interview because she had asked how her first day went. I said, so the interview was actually just a job application. And I said, so if I bring her up there on Thursday after I pick her up, would you like to interview her for a documentary? You want to interview an 8-year-old? She's like, yes. And then she IM'd me today, and she's like, I'm making her a certificate. This is going to be amazing.
It's going to be really cute. She's going to have her first little interview. And I told you I need a full transcription.
Hopefully I can video it.
Of what happens.
I don't know if she's going to do it in her office or she's going to actually do it in a conference room. Because if she does it in her office, I would have to stand behind Kamisha, and that would be like awkward. But
don't mind me. Just standing here ominously staring at you.
But if she does it in a conference room, I can stand by the door. So hopefully she does it in a conference room. But she even sent a little email invite.
That's cute.
She sent it to me at my work email, and she sent it to Piper at my personal email. It's adorable.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. So I'm excited to have you report back on how it went.
It'll be exciting.
If she's better in interviews than I am.
I'm kind of curious what kind of interview questions Kamisha's going to come up with.
I am too, but I think that's really cute. And I was like, when I heard about this, I was like, oh, this is perfect for the decompression chamber because that's adorable.
That was your first comment.
Yeah, it was. No, my first comment was I need a full transcription.
Oh, yes, that was.
Second comment was this is perfect for the decompression chamber. All right, so that was the decompression chamber. Good job. That was very fun. I cannot wait to hear back. I would like to say that if any listeners want to send a story to us to read out in the decompression chamber,
oh yeah,
I think that would be great. So you can just email us at macabrestorytime@gmail.com and in the subject line put decompression chamber. And we will know that you want it read out as one of our fun, wholesome, cute, funny, whatever stories to kind of lighten the day a little bit after hearing these horrible stories. And also, if you could put in the email if you want like your name said on air or anything like that, so that we know if that's something that you want. So yeah, I think that would be fun to have listeners.
You could send us
some stories. Yeah, that'd be great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Macabre Storytime.
To stay in the know on all things macabre, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Macabre Storytime. Or you can email us at macabrestorytime@gmail.com.
And if you are interested in supporting the show, you can head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/macabrestorytime.
There are 3 tiers to choose from if you want to support the show. For $1 a month, you can be a Death Water drinker. For $3 a month, you can be a Mind Bubbler. And for $5 a month, you can join the Terrible People Club along with us.
Yep, that's where I live. Yeah, so that's exciting for us. We do have one Patreon so far. Should we go ahead and shout out to them?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much to our founding Patreon, our very first Patreon, Danny Barnes.
Yay, Danny.
Yay, Danny. You're the best. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We love you to pieces. Thank you so much. So go ahead, sign up to be a supporter. We'll shout you out on air. We are working on the stickers that are part of the signing up to be a Patreon portion. We have gotten the artwork back for the first sticker.
It is so cute.
It was really cute. I love it. I'm really excited about it.
Cute in a creepy way.
Yes. It's very cute. So, yeah, we're working on getting those done. So stickers will be hopefully before too long. Hopefully before this actually releases, we'll have some stickers, but we'll see what happens.
Hopefully.
But yeah, stickers will be incoming shortly. As I said, stickers are part of being a Patreon subscriber because as a Patreon supporter, you have exclusive access to things like some cute stickers we're going to have, bonus episodes, behind the scenes content, and you can even start to live stream with us in the near future. We're going to figure out how to make that happen. Yeah. And I'm excited about it. So once again, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, go to the bathroom before you get on the plane.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere near the exit doors.
If there's a window on the door, don't push it.
If you can see sky, back off.
Just stay in your seat. Don't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, don't even, just hold it. Wear a diaper.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.